Chele Alabegwe. Oops. My recording has started. Greetings, fellow migrant hearts. I have had 2 earworms in my ear today. This song I was humming to, Egedege. It's by Flavor Fino, Theresa Noah, and Larry Gaga. And the thing, it's been like loop in my ear. It's been on a loop in my ear. I've been humming it all day long. And the other song I have been humming to is it's a song by Macy Gray called Baby Daddy. And my 2-year-old absolutely loves this song. You should see her with her small waist shaking her entire body to, will you be my baby daddy, sugar daddy, or can you give me candy? And I'm like, oh my God, this is slightly inappropriate for a 2-year-old, but she loves it. Anyway, back to our video. Greetings, fellow migrant hearts, stout-hearted people who have moved from the land of their births to another country, searching for nirvana. My fellow globalists, greetings. My name is Adani Liaku from Ominala Group LLC. In today's meeting, I'd like to talk to you about financial inclusion, specifically why new migrants, expatriates, however you identify, should build their credit score. This video is really targeted at new immigrants or people who have started exploring migrating west. I recommend watching my first video, The Migrant's Guide to Financial Inclusion. I am going to leave the link in my description. So, back to this thing that's called a credit score. A credit score is important for many reasons, but its most important use is to evaluate how much credit a lender will extend to you and at what interest rate. A better credit score means that the lender will extend you more credit at a lower interest rate. The United States is called America, and the West is Obodo Ibo. I'd just like to tell you, the road to America is paved with expenses, costs. In order to establish yourself in the United States and in any other Western country, anywhere in the world anyway, you will encounter several major expenses. This is a huge country, people. It's practically a continent. And the transport system in many of their cities is definitely not as good as, say, London, where the tube and the buses can take you anywhere, or even in Lagos, Accra, or Khartoum, where there's a plethora of transportation options from Keke Mawa to the bus, Danfo, anything. Or what's that thing that they call? I lived in Accra, I can't remember the name of the little buses. Anyway, you will need to, Trotro, exactly. You will need to invest in a car. You need to pay for rent to rest your head. As the ambitious globalist that you are, you may be wanting to buy a house in the near future. Unless you have significant cash resources that you're tapping into from your country of origin, you will likely need a loan to afford these. Having a good credit score could be the difference between qualifying for a mortgage and not. And a great credit score can save you thousands of dollars in interest over the life of your mortgage. Even if you have no interest in getting a loan, your credit score still matters. Landlords, cell phone companies, and utility companies use your credit score to determine what kind of security deposits to require and what kind of payment plans to extend to you. Even the likes of Geico or any other insurance company use aspects of the credit score to determine how risky of a client you are. Now, let's look at something else, especially pertinent to new migrants, your immigration status. Many of you will ask, how does my immigration status keep me from getting credit? This is a really relevant question. Even though your immigrant status is not listed on your credit report, it is not illegal for lenders to consider your immigration status at their discretion to decide whether you will stay in the country long enough to repay your gbese. For non-Nigerians, gbese is a Nigerianese for debts. Whether a lender will actually check this varies from lender to lender. Some lenders simply use your credit score, while others do more detailed examination of borrowers. However, if you can demonstrate that you intend to stay in the United States for a longer period of time, this will be less of an issue. When you come as a new migrant, you have to have a social security number. And I don't mean social media. When you come as a new migrant, be sure to get your SSN, as we call it. Apply for SSN or CSAW quick. Your SSN is your primary identification number and is used throughout the financial and government world. When it comes to your credit report, having a SSN is the best way to ensure that lenders are able to look up your credit report and record on-time payments to your credit reports. This is really, really important. Please take note. Your credit score is really important. It's a balance of the good and bad factors. So please take note of this when talking and thinking about your credit score. And I'm going to use a language. It's not proper English, but it's the best thing I can think of describing this to you. The more good, and I'm saying this in quotation marks, the more good your record relative to the bad, the better your credit score. Does that make sense? Shall I go again? The more good, in quotation marks, your record relative to the bad, the better your credit score. However, to have an excellent credit score, it is important to keep your report free of negative information. Once you have a ding on your report, it can stay there for 7 to 10 years. Again, I'll emphasize, it can stay there for asa to 3 years, 7 to 10. You may be tempted to take on a lot of debt to help establish your credit or simply to finance spending, but be careful that you don't get in over your head and start making late payments or defaulting entirely on this debt. Your payment history is the single most important factor in your credit score, and missed payments will establish a bad record in a hurry, especially as an immigrant with no prior good history to balance out your mistakes. So mistakes are not good for new migrants. Instead, start with small loans or lines of credit, only adding a new credit when you are sure you can handle it. So, qualifying for a credit card as a foreign student. Many Nigerians like myself, in fact many Africans, we like book, we like higher education, masters, PhD, all of them. How do they overqualified? No, that's a disrespectful. Nobody's ever overqualified, but we just like, book. If you immigrated as a student, you'll likely have several credit card options that are available to students. So please take advantage of your student status. To help students build credit, lenders offer cards with low limits and often with student-related perks on top. If these are available, this may be the best way to get a fee-free card without putting down a deposit. Listen again. If you come as a student to do PhD or Masters, look out for fee-free cards so that you don't have to put down a cent in deposit. They still function as regular credit cards. Your payments, balance, and credit limit will be reported to the credit bureaus, all helping you build your credit score, provided you consistently pay on time. Again, consistency is key. Consistently pay on time. The main difference is that your student status makes it a little easier to qualify for the card with no credit history at all. So, credit card, again, as a student, take advantage of your student status to get that card so you don't pay a fee and you don't put down a deposit. In our last conversation in my first video, I talked about credit cards being one of the first options and low-cost options versus traditional loans to building a credit in the US. I also talked about secure credit cards for new migrants who cannot qualify for a traditional credit card because they don't have credit history or credit invincible. Again, I'll leave a link to the video in the description. Please watch that video. Taking out loans or credit helps you to establish your credit score, but many loans that are available for people with no credit history come with a high interest rate since the lenders consider you a high-risk borrower. This can end up costing you dearly over the life of the loan. Credit cards, however, allow you to avoid interest entirely if you pay your balance in full each month. So if you know you're going to be able to pay your balance in full each month, great. If you want to learn more, again, refer to my last video. Now, I like this next one. Using a car loan to build credits. Good strategy, but listen to me. Genti. Genti in Igbo means lend me your ears. Car loans are collateralized by the car being purchased. You want me to take that again? Car loans are collateralized by the car being purchased. This means that if you default on your loan, the lender can repossess the car, recouping some or all of their loss. This also means that some lenders may be more willing to extend a car loan to someone with little or no credit, although the lender may require a larger than usual down payment to help protect them. Just like credit cards and their debt and other debt, your payment history is reported to the credit bureaus, so each payment will build your score and give lenders a better idea of what kind of borrower you are. With no credit score, you will only qualify for a high interest loan. So this is my advice. You can choose to take it, especially for those of us new migrants that had expensive beasts as cars in our countries of origin. To avoid spending too much on interest, start with a cheaper vehicle. You might consider it a downgrade, but it might be the smart choice. So start with a cheaper vehicle and make a large down payment. This keeps the financed amount low, which in turn keeps the amount you pay in interest low, regardless of the size of the loan. After a year or two of making regular payments, consider refinancing your loan at a lower rate, since you will now have a better credit history. Back to Economics 101, we all did this in junior secondary school. In absolute terms, car loans are a depreciating asset because you are paying interest on a rapidly depreciating property. But for building your credit history, car loans are a cheap and easy trick. The moral of my gist, or this my long tale, is get a credit record. As a new immigrant, it may be frustrating that at first you have a hard time getting a loan. The bottom line is that lenders just want some indication that you will be a responsible borrower. Your only option is finding the few loans that you do qualify for, like the credit builder loan I talked about in the last video. Pay them off in a timely manner. Be still. Center yourself. Be still and know that in a short amount of time, provided you pay all your bills on time, you will have no problem qualifying for a loan at all. So, let's get to the heart of today's meeting. How do you, as a new migrant, build credit history the right way? I will revert back to the Igbo advice, when didi. Do not rush. Solid credit history takes time. It will be about 6 months before you can see the fruits of your efforts. Buckle your seatbelt and prepare for a journey. You might be tempted to apply for anyhow type of credit card that lenders will give you. Do not. This will work against you in the long term. It will work against your long-term financial health and goals. There are lenders out there, sharks in human form, that will underwrite new migrants with invisible or poor credit. You don't want to be associated with them, and you don't want them to have your social security number. If your social security number leaks or is compromised, you will be in some serious trouble. Your identity protection will be at risk. Social Security Administration will change your number if you're a victim of identity theft. You will have to update the rest of the government bureaus and businesses. Some are not prepared for an SSN change. This stress is too much, and you migrated, running away from stress, only for you to jam it in America. So please. Another reason to be picky with your lender is that you want to keep your oldest credit card basically forever. This will be the card that positively impacts the length of your credit history, which in turn increases your credit score. If you pick some garbage for the first card and then close it 2 years down the road, you will have wasted 2 years of credit history. So now, people, let's talk strategy. I love that word. When I'm talking about strategy, I love that word iterative because I'm a project manager. And building a good credit history is an iterative process. In layman's terms, iterative is kind of like a rule that can be applied repeatedly. Some we call it frequentative. During every iteration, you shoot high and take what you get. Solidify your standing with consistent payment history. Pull your credit report. I pull my credit report free on Discover and Chase. Analyze where you stand. Take the hints from the credit bureaus that they put as bullets in your report. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. The idea is to climb the credit score ladder higher every time you apply. Now, here's a piece of advice for your strategy to building up credit, and it's loosely based around the Igbo commercial value. Ejigu ututu ama, sorry, let me start again. Ejigu ututu amanjo ahia. Again, word of advice, my Igbo sticks, is that a word? But my Igbo, like I said, I'm really intentional about speaking Igbo. But so what this means is you shouldn't measure the success of a day by what happens in the morning alone. We may have a rough start, but finish with a positive result because of our perseverance. Many of us, myself included, grew up to view denial and failure negatively. But the truth is, failure and denial are pathways to learning and success. You cannot be triumphant without trying. I'd like to give a shout out or a nod to Ozzy Obio, who is responsible for putting down these Igbo commercial values on paper. I salute his knowledge. So back to our strategy to building credit. Being denied credit can be useful. Start by applying to the credit card of your dreams or asking for a loan. Without credit history, you will likely get denied, and in the rejection letter, the lender will explain why you got denied. This information is really valuable. When you are ready to start applying for credit, pack all your line of credit applications within 30 days. Again, I will repeat. When you are ready to start applying for credit, pack all your line of credit applications within 30 days. Every time you apply, the lender does a hard pull. What this means is that you take a hard inquiry on your credit report, which lowers your score. But note that credit bureaus will collapse all hard inquiries into a single one if they are all complete in about 45 days. So go ahead and apply to as many cards as makes sense to you in a 30-day stretch. If you are denied, this information is not stored anywhere in the system and will not be used against you in the future. You can turn around and reapply again, even if you believe you qualify within a month. The lender will pull your new credit report and will rerun underwriting. Here's another strategy that I like, and I really like this one. I'm going to try and pronounce it right because I think it's an important one. Baa maka onwa rute na mbara igwe, which means shoot for the moon, get to the sky. If you like a particular credit card, go ahead and apply for it, but make sure you use sense, another Nigerian parlance. If you are a new migrant with no credit history, applying for American Express Platinum with $550 annual membership fee is stupid. You can ask for a lower credit limit on the card you are shooting for. Even if they cap you at $1,000, that's irrelevant. If you plan to pay the card in full every month, which you absolutely should, then ask for a higher APR in your credit score. If your credit score is low, this will put you on the path to qualify. If you strongly believe you are close to landing a card, go ahead and call the lender customer service and try negotiating with them. This is the land of negotiation. The same ideas applies to all aspects of credit, not only credit cards. If you want to rent an apartment and your credit score is low or is missing, call the landlord and negotiate. Want a better internet plan? Go ahead and apply. Be prepared to negotiate. This is the most capitalist country on earth, and everything is about the art of negotiation. So up your negotiation skills. Anything you want, negotiate. It's never the final full stop in this land, in this Obodo. Here's another strategy I like. Mara Nombagi. I don't think I need to translate that. Mara Nombagi, know your number. You should be the first person that pulls your credit report. There are 3 credit bureaus in this America. There's Experian, there's TransUnion, and there's Equifax. Get yourself an account with any of the 3 and keep an eye on your profile diligently. Credit Bureau will give you tips on how to improve your score. My Discover account is linked to Experian, and my app diligently reports my FICO score and changes in my report to me. My credit report contains items that negatively impact my credit report contains items that negatively impact my score. And if I see anything that does not make sense, I have small cold, I always dispute them. For new migrants who might not have access to the likes of Discover to rely on regular credit reporting, an Equifax personal account will cost you $19 a month. I know it might be steep depending on the financial circumstance, but it really is worth it. But you'll get unlimited credit profile requests. Just remember that you're entitled to a free credit report from each credit bureau once a year. So listen again, Ginty, you as a hardworking American or a migrant, you are entitled to a free credit report from each credit bureau once a year. Cheap can be good, but let's be honest, cheap can be more excruciating. If you have to be cheap due to circumstance, send a regular USPS mail to each credit bureau asking them to print your report and mail it back to you. But if, like me, you don't always have patience for excruciating, a quicker but more expensive option is to use your membership with the bureau, for example, the $19 to Experian, to obtain electronic credit report from all 3 of them. Experian offers credit score boost service. It may not be a bad idea to give it a shot, especially if you have no credit history at all. And keep reiterating this common sense advice I gave you in my last video. Pay on time. Pay on time. Pay on time. All financial institutions publish your credit account information to credit bureaus in bulk every month. They send information such as your credit limit, any outstanding balance, payment history, APR, etc. Your billing cycle may not align with the date of publication, so you will likely carry some balance during every upload. That's not a big deal, just something to keep in mind. It is absolutely critical to pay your bills before on the due date. If you miss a payment by 1 day, just because the transaction posted 1 day later and you have just damaged your credit score, it is not worth it. I recommend paying your bills on the day when they arrive. Do not wait for the last moment. If you automate your payments, it will even be better. I know, we like to be in strict control of everything, but it might be better, especially if you're prone to forgetting. Do not rely on yourself to keep making payments every month. Let the computers deal with it. Set up auto reminders if you're not going to do the auto payments for your account. Now, let's move along. Here's another strategy advice I want to share with you. Diversify. Lenders like to see you with multiple credit cards and lines of credit that are all paid on time. So my people, adopt the strategy. Get at least 2 credit cards, get a car loan which is a cheap and easy trick to build credit, and also when you can, get a mortgage. Remember, when Didi, apply patience. Do not do it all at the same time, but rather over time as you build your score and qualify for better rates. Getting a mortgage is an interest tranche in the bid to build your credit. And I'll say that again, an interest tranche, or rather, should I say interesting angle. Okay, so let me speak less Weibo. Getting a mortgage it's interesting in that, let me explain myself further. You are unlikely to reach a score of 800 plus without a mortgage. Maybe for some people it's different. So you need a mortgage to get to that 800 plus score. Although I do know some people, my brother for example, who got to 800 without a mortgage. but they're physicians. Maybe it's a different story with them. I don't know. So there are different factors at play, but I can absolutely tell you that getting to 800 plus having a mortgage helps that. So once you get to a place of better credit, you will definitely qualify for better mortgage rates. So if your plan is to get a mortgage, grow your score, then refinance for better rates once you become a super prime borrower. So again, once you get to a place of a better credit score, you will qualify for better mortgage rates. So if you plan to get a mortgage, grow your score first and then refinance for better rates once you become a super prime borrower. Really important advice. In our next meeting, we will discuss in depth how credit works. If you liked this video and got useful information, please feel free to subscribe to this Otobo. Otobo is a place, it's an Igbo word, and it's a place for learning, for spiritual practices, for honoring wellness and health, for events that bring people together in celebration. And here in this Otobo, we will learn together, relate, and acquire skills together. So let's interact. In your comments, please feel free to give me feedback and leave suggestions about relevant and topics. Until next time, come